What's going on, everybody? Former Glory Day here, and we are back right now to talk all things Predecessor patch 1.12. This patch is going to be releasing to everybody next week, but thanks to the Predecessor Creators Guild and Omega for giving us an early peek at this patch. This patch is massive, you guys. It's bringing changes to every hero in the game. So these videos are going to be breaking down everything that you can expect to see when this patch releases. So let's get right into it. We're going to be talking about the mid lane changes in this video, starting with everybody's favorite little guy, talking about Argus. I am going to be reading these ability changes and updates off of an early release patch notes. I just want to make a disclaimer out there. The last time we did a series like this, there were some changes that I said were coming that were actually adjusted prior to the full patch release. I'm pretty sure, I've been assured, the Creators Guild has been assured that these patches are pretty much what is going to be shipped with 1.12, but I just want to leave that disclaimer out there that says things could be a little bit different when this all hits live. Just wanted to throw that out there. So take it with a grain of salt, but we're like 98% accurate here. So talking about Argus. Out the gate, we have to talk about, we have one change to his augments. We have Synaptic Shock has been renamed to Infinite Obliteration. So this now has bonus range. It used to be 25%. It is now increased to infinite range. Okay. So it's going to be traveling 25% faster. So keeping that 25% faster speed, and slows for 50% longer, but it has infinite range. So that's a big change there. Now you control people from incredible distance, infinite distance. As far as the changes to his stat lines, he does have a little bit of a nerf, but they're very small changes. His HP, his base HP is going down just slightly. His HP growth is going down. Same with his mana, going down slightly, with mana growth going down slightly. And his attack speed is also going to be dropped just a little bit. But rejoice, because his primary ability, Dread Nova, is being adjusted in the positive. So the damage is going up just slightly early, but a little bit more late. So it's going to be going up from 85 scaling to 225 to 80 scaling to 240. And his magical power scaling on his primary is going up by 10% from 45 to 55%. In addition to this, the stun duration is increasing from 1 to 1.2 seconds to 1 to 1.4 seconds. So at max rank, you have an additional 0.2 seconds on your stun. On top of all of this, the cooldown is dropping from a flat 14 seconds all ranks to 13, scaling down to 9 seconds. So you're going to have even more uses of his primary ability the later you go into the game. Final change to this ability is that the cost is decreasing from 80 mana to 50 mana, which is good since his mana growth and base mana are going down. Next changes to our dwarven boy here is to his secondary ether crystal. So the damage, in keeping with the primary changes here, his damage is increasing from 15 scaling to 35 to 15 scaling to 55. So we'll have more damage late. The slow is being adjusted from a flat 35% to 25 scaling to 45%. The cooldown is decreasing at all ranks. Used to be 17 to 13 seconds. Now it is going to be 14 to 12 seconds. You're seeing the trend here with Argus. He's getting a buff across all of his abilities, so we'll take it with the changes to the stats. And the final change to his secondary ability, the cost is being changed from a flat 90 mana at all ranks to 70, increasing to 110. So down early, a little bit higher late. Shouldn't be an issue though, because you're going to be close to full build, if not full build, by the time you've maxed out your secondary ability. The alternate ability, Particle Shredder, is seeing a kind of cool quality adjustment that's coming to quite a few of the heroes in this patch, but it's going to now display the number of disintegration stacks you have applied to enemy heroes on the enemy hero's health bar. So they will be able to know how many stacks you've accumulated on them. So kind of a cool info, adjustment there. The damage of this ability is going up from 15 scaling to 39 to 15 scaling to 46, with the magical power scaling increasing from 15 to 20%. So good amount of damage increase towards the later side of the game. The cost is increasing from 14 scaling to 18 to 16 scaling to 20. So cost is going up, but trading that for a good amount more damage. His ultimate Synaptic Obliterator is going to have damage being increased late, and keeping with most of the other changes to him. So he'll have his damage decreased from 110 scaling to 170 100 scaling to 160, so down each rank, but the magical power scaling is increasing from 20 to 25%. So he'll have more damage into the late game to account for the flat decrease to the base damage on the ability. The cooldown is also increasing on this from 120 down to 80 to 130 down to 100. So those are all the changes coming to our man Argus. Let me know what you think of those in the comments below, and we are going to move on to Countess. First change coming to Countess is to one of her augments. Shadow Strike has been removed. This was the augment that had abilities and basic attacks against heroes were reducing Shadow Slip's cooldown by 6%. They have scrapped that and they have swapped it out to Shadow Echo, which this is when you switch places back with your shadow, you will trigger the damage again that you do when you dash. For all my Countess players out there, you're aware, but when you use Shadow Slip, you do damage when you get there. This is just saying when you switch back with your clone, you're going to trigger that instance of damage again. So it's just going to give you some straight up more damage. So we love that, of course. As far as base stats for Countess, she is going to see a decrease in her base HP and her health, or HP growth, but she's seeing some mana buffs. So she's having base mana increase, mana growth increase. She's having some physical power increase, just moderate. Physical armor is increasing as a base, but she is losing a little bit of physical power growth throughout the game and a little bit of attack speed going down, but just a very, very minor adjustments to her, just some tweaks there to keep her competitive. As far as her passive Blood Tithe, it's no longer going to reduce basic ability cooldowns when your hemorrhage procs. Otherwise, the same, but we're not going to have any basic ability cooldown reduction. Taking a second to acknowledge that I realized my webcam was right over top of the video of the abilities, so I moved it. So you'll notice with Argus, it was over top of the ability. So I'm sorry about that, but I shifted it to being out of the way so you can see the videos of these abilities as we talk about them. So moving on. With Countess, they have adjusted the effect of her Shadow Slip, her primary ability. It's still going to operate very similarly. So she's going to dash forward to the target location. She'll still damage. She'll still slow when she gets there. When she dashes, she leaves a shadow at her original position. She can teleport back to instantly if she reactivates Shadow Slip within 4 seconds. As far as actual tweaking to the ability, an important change is that Countess no longer loses tower aggro when she dashes or teleports with Shadow Slip. So you will still maintain tower aggro. It's not going to drop that. So it's an important thing to consider whenever you want to go for that cheeky dive. The damage radius is increasing from 250 to 300, but the cost of the ability is going up. So just a little bit of a trade-off there. Her secondary ability, Eventide, has seen a cost increase, but a cooldown decrease. No changes to her damage. Her alternate ability, Blade Siphon, has had damage down early, but up all other ranks. Her scaling is increasing on this. The cost and the cooldown, though, are increasing. So she's trading a little bit more damage for a little bit more cost and cooldown. Finally, her ultimate ability, Feast, it does now commit both its cost and its cooldown on activation, which means that if you get interrupted on cast, it will not be recastable after that interrupt is finished. So you will commit your cost and your cooldown when you activate the ability. Those are all of the changes coming to Countess. So let me know, again, just like Argus, what you guys think about those changes. And we are going to shift over to Gadget and keep this train going for our mid lane hero changes coming in patch 1.12. For Gadget, we have a change to her augments as well. So her augment Ion Barrier has been removed. And this was the one where Security Gate grants yourself and ally heroes a 50 plus 55% shield for 3 seconds when you first pass through it. It has been removed and replaced with Eureka. This is an augment that says once you've gotten 200 of your field data accumulation stacks, you will gain a level. Yeah, a level. At 500 field data accumulation stacks, you're going to gain 60% jump height, which I think is honestly super cool. Going to open up some avenues of maneuvering for Gadget, just make her all around more fun to play. An additional change is to her Blast Zone augment. This is now also going to grant 3 additional stacks of FDA when empowering a mine that is attached to a hero. So this is another way for you to ramp up those stacks, get that damage cooking earlier. As far as her base stats, she's seen some tweaks that are kind of mostly in the negative direction. But again, all these adjustments to these baseline stats have been very small. So her HP, base HP and growth are going down slightly. Her mana base is going down slightly, but her growth is increasing. Her physical power is decreasing and her attack speed is decreasing. Adjustments to her abilities, taking a look at her passive field data accumulation first. Essentially, more stacks. You're going to be gaining more stacks on ability hits against heroes. So we're increasing from 3 to 4 on ability hits against heroes. So just making it even easier for you to get to those benchmarks and scale out of your mind, right? Sticky Mine, her primary ability, has seen damage going down, cost going down, and cooldown going down. So you're losing a little bit of damage, but it's going to be easier to cast it, and you'll have more frequent cast opportunities. So yeah, an understandable trade-off there. Her secondary ability, Security Gate, has seen a cost decrease, but a cooldown increase. No adjustments to the damage. Her alternate ability, Seek and Destroy, has seen some damage nerf early, but going up later. And then the cost is going to be decreasing early, as well as the cooldown coming down across all ranks. Recapping, you're losing a little bit of damage early, but scaling is going to be increasing. Cost is coming down early, the same late, and the overall cooldown on the ability is going to be the same. Finally, Tesla Dome, her ultimate, you've got damage increasing late and cooldown decreasing. So you'll have more frequent opportunities to cast this ultimate, and you'll be even stronger later because you're going to have more stacks with the changes that they've made, and your damage is going to be increased just flat out with magical power scaling going from 200 to 220%. So Gadget players rejoice because you mostly came up with these changes. Now moving on to everybody's favorite illusory man, Gideon. Gideon hasn't seen any changes to his augment, so we'll jump right into his baseline stats, which are, again, small tweaks across the board, but mostly in the down direction. So he's lost some base HP, some HP growth. He's lost some base mana, but an increase to his mana growth. He's lost some attack speed. He's lost some physical armor growth and some physical power growth. When it comes to his passive ability, Cosmic Power, Gideon now gains a 1% increased maximum mana for every 10 magical power that he possesses. So as the game goes on, your max mana is going to be increasing. And this is going to be a trend across all of his abilities. So your overall damage is decreasing from 56 scaling to 260 to 40 scaling to 193. And your magical power scaling is decreasing from 32 to 25%. I know you're thinking, well, that's big, but it's because of the max mana thing they're going to be incorporating, so you will see. But in addition to that, the root duration from his passive is going up from 0.8 seconds to 1 second. And the cooldown is decreasing from 20 scaling to 8.1 seconds to 18 scaling to 6.1 seconds. So a little bit of a win there. His basic attack is receiving a little adjustment. He's going to be dealing a bonus plus 2% of your bonus mana magical damage on hit. See, we got some stuff going on with his maximum mana. Your primary ability, Cosmic Rift, has had a 5% bonus mana scaling added to its damage. Okay, so your magical power scaling on the ability has decreased from 90 down to 65%. But the more mana you have, the more damage you're going to deal with this ability. His secondary ability, Torn Space, has had its mana cost increased, but it's also going to grant you bonus maximum mana for 8 seconds on cast. So if you chain this ability, usually, I see a lot of Gideons using this ability to get out of combat, but if you should use it before you go in for your big trade or your all-in situation, you can boost up your maximum mana, which then will in turn boost the damage of all of your other abilities, kind of buffing yourself right before you go in, right? Your alternate ability, Void Breach, has had the cooldown now progresses 1% faster for every 80 max mana Gideon has. So the more mana you build, not only are you going to be gaining damage because you do have a 2% bonus mana scaling added to the damage of this ability, but you're also going to see your cooldown decrease on this ability the more mana that you have. The slow on this ability is increasing from 25 to 35%. So now you've gotten more damage, a shorter cooldown, and an increased CC, increased slow. Cost of the ability, and continuing and keeping with the rest of the changes, is going to be going down early but up later. So as you build that more and more bonus mana, They want you to have the benefits of the ability, but they don't want it to be overpowered. So it's going to cost a little bit more mana, but it's going to deal more damage. Changes to your ultimate, Black Hole. It's going to grant you 2% bonus max mana per enemy hero damage for 8 seconds. Its duration will refresh with each hero hit. Okay, so I'll read this straight from the game here. For each enemy hero hit by Black Hole, Gideon gains 2% increased max mana for 8 seconds. So this is the same buff that you're getting from Torn Space. It's an 8-second increase to your maximum mana. So this is a 2% increase. And in Torn Space, you have a 50 scaling to 150 increase in your maximum mana, both for 8 seconds. So if you Torn Space, you're dealing more damage. Then you Black Hole for every hero that you hit. Okay. So if you get a really well-positioned, well-timed ult, you could get 3-4 people. You're looking at 6-8% increase for 8 seconds in your bonus mana, which is going to directly boost the rest of your damage. So some really great adjustments coming to Gideon. I really like this rework situation where they're kind of having him focus on maximum mana. I think it really kind of fits his vibe and the character that he is. Let me know what you think in the comments below about these adjustments. I'd love to hear what you have to say. But we're going to move on to our little rascal Howitzer. So no adjustments to his augments, but we do need to talk about some of the, the baseline changes to his general stats. He's had his HP, base HP down, HP growth down. His attack speed has been slightly decreased, but his physical power has been slightly increased. The first change to his abilities is to his primary ability, his R2000 missile. So you can actually now hover and charge your missile for up to 1.4 seconds, as you guys can see in the little picture here on the bottom, with its damage increasing from 65 to 100% based on the charge time. So scaling from 0 to 0.9 seconds, you'll go from 65 to 100% of the damage. And I'll read it from the tooltip here. Damage increases from 65 to 100% based on charge time. And that charge time is 0 to 0.9 seconds. Okay. So you do want to charge it up for at least that 0.9 seconds to get your damage increase at 100%. Additionally, Howitzer can now move at 50% speed while charging the missile. So previously, this wasn't a charge ability and you couldn't move, but now it's a charge ability and you can move, but just at 50% of your base move speed. Otherwise, the damage has been decreased early, but increased later. And the cooldown on the ability has been brought down. There's also a bug fix on the ability where the jet VFX weren't displaying on Howie's feet during targeting. They've adjusted that to where we will see that. When it comes to his secondary ability, we have seen a couple of changes on that as well. So Landmine has seen the scaling damage on the ability increased. Okay, so another cool change is that Howie can now reactivate this ability while it is still midair. So you can throw the mines out and activate it before it even hits the ground. So increase in damage and earlier activation time, which is cool. His alternate ability has been renamed to H11 cluster grenades. That's literally the only change. They didn't change any of the other stats to the ability. They just now are calling it something else. And the last change to Howie is to his ultimate. It has had a slight nerf, not to damage, but to the explosion radius. It's down from 220 to 200. That's the only change to him. So let me know what you guys think about the changes to Howie. I think the biggest adjustment is obviously to his primary ability, the R2000 missile, and I think it's a pretty cool change. So you guys let me know, and we are going to move on to the bane of my existence, Iggy. No adjustments to his augments. Across the board, he's seen some very small tweaks and down to his base stats. So his, again, base HP, HP growth going down, base mana, mana growth going down, physical power going down, and attack speed going down. But all of these changes, again, are very minor. His passive ability, Badlands Critter, is now going to display the number of slick stacks that you've applied to an enemy hero on that enemy hero's health bar. So they will know how many stacks you've accumulated on them. In addition to that, they have fixed a bug in the game where the stacks can now be cleansed. His primary ability, Flame Turret, has had the damage decreased, but your turret HP, armor, and magical armor are increasing, and the cost of the turrets are going down. So you'll have longer lasting turrets that cost you less resources, but they will do slightly less damage. His secondary ability, Oil Spill, has had an increase to its slow from 35 to 40% and a cooldown decrease by 1 second from 13 to 12. So straight up win there. His alternate ability, Molotov, has had damage decreased later. It's a 10% decrease in the scaling, down from 45 to 35%, but your burn damage is increasing later. So it used to be 60 to 140, now it's 60 scaling to 200. So later game, your burn is going to be dealing more damage. His ultimate, Inferno, Iggy fans everywhere screaming, you're going to have damage increased later in the game. So you went from 375, 480, 585 to 375, 600, 825. Pretty significant increases to his damage the longer you go in the game. And those are all the changes to my least favorite gentleman. Can you call him a gentleman? I don't know. Mongrel. Next, we're going to take a look at Mommy, Lieutenant Belica. So she's had a couple of changes to her base stats as well. Her base HP and HP growth are going down. Her mana growth is going down. Her attack speed is going down slightly, but her physical power is going to increase some. She has had a change to her augment. So her pulse fire rounds here is not a complete rework, but it's having magical power scaling increased from 8% to now 10%. So you're going to be doing just straight up more damage should you decide to take that augment. Next, her basic attacks are going to have their bonus physical power increase from the scaling increase from 65 to 70%. So later in the game and as the game goes on, you will be doing more damage with your basic attack. Her primary ability, Seismic Assault, her knockup, it's had a quality of life adjustment where it targets and casts from the center of the screen rather than being offset. If you've played Belica, you know that you feel like you're kind of looking at the side of the screen, but it's going to be right down the middle of the screen now, as you can see in the little video here. It has had damage increased later, and the stun height is increased. So you have more of an opportunity to catch people that have movement abilities that are trying to go over top of the ability. It's also had a bug fix where the activation decal has been flipped to match the targeting decal. The voice line now plays at the start of the cast, and the VFX and animation timings are better synced, as well as it has added an impact SFX queue. So you know, actually, it just feels better to cast this ability than it did before. Her primary ability, Void Drone, has had a couple of what I think are pretty great changes for her. Duration of the drone has increased from 10 seconds to 12 seconds, so it's going to be out there for longer. The drain has increased, so it's gone from 2% scaling to 4% to 2% scaling to 5%. The zap damage, magical power scaling, has been increased from 15 to 20%. And when you get to that final rank, the innovation, your passive, your max mana drain is increasing from 2% to 6%. So we're 3xing her max rank drain. It also now grants vision around itself for 12 seconds, which I think is really cool. Her alternate ability, Void Bomb, has had its damage increased later. So you'll deal more damage later you go into the game. Her ultimate ability, Neural Disruptor, no significant changes to this. Has a little adjustment to the animation cast frame. It has had the smoke, the VFX smoke decrease, so you won't see it for quite as much because people were complaining that it was obscuring their vision. So it's going to linger for only a second and a half. It used to linger for 4.5 seconds. So kind of a quality of life adjustment there. And those are all the changes coming to Lieutenant Belica. So let me know what you guys think about those. And we're going to move on to Mrs. Creepy herself, Morigesh. So we have had adjustment to her Ritual of Death augment. It is now, her curse is now going to heal Morigesh for 80, 100, and 120% of the damage dealt. So it increased healing to her from her Ritual of Death. As far as her base stats, she's seen her base HP and her HP growth going down, her mana going down, her attack speed going down, but her movement speed is increasing. So she loves to be running around and scaring everybody all the time. So now you can do that even faster. Your passive, Pestilence, is now going to, in keeping with a couple of the same adjustments for other heroes, you're going to display the number of Pestilence stacks you have on enemies. They will know, it'll be on their health bar. They're able to see how many stacks you've applied to them. The base damage is increasing from 0.18% of max HP to 0.25% max HP. And the maximum stacks are going up from 3 to 4. So some pretty good changes to her passive that should see you doing more damage across the board. Your basic attack range on your Feta Dagger is going down just slightly. Primary ability Hive has seen damage increased later. The radius, explosion radius of the ability has been increased just slightly. The launch speed of the ability has been increased, and the cost of the ability and the cooldown of the ability are increasing early in the game. There's also been a couple of quality of life adjustments to this ability. So the projectile VFX size has been increased a little bit, so you can actually see it better, when you throw this. And there's an impact decal VFX where that radius has been increased. So it just shows off the ability a little bit more, which honestly I think is really cool because Predecessor is a beautiful game. So we should be able to see what's going on, I think. And that's actually the only adjustments they've made to Morigesh. All of her other abilities are untouched this patch. Moving on to the queen herself, Renna. She's got no adjustments to her augments, so we'll jump right into her base stat changes. She's had an base HP decrease, an HP growth decrease, but a mana increase. So that's always good. A mana growth decrease, and then we're going to get into her ability changes. So her primary ability, Mortal Coil, has had its damage decrease, but the pull strength is increasing, so it's going to be harder to get out of the ability. And the cost of the ability is decreasing later on in the game. So that'll be less taxing on you to cast this ability. Your secondary ability, your Mez, your super, this has had its damage decreased, but its cost is also coming down. So less taxing to cast this ability as well. Your alternate ability, Soulfire, as in keeping with the other changes, has had your damage early decrease, but the scaling is increasing, so you'll be dealing more damage later in the game. And the cost and the cooldown are decreasing on this ability as well. To your ultimate, Abyssal Rift, you are having a channel duration increase. So it's going from 1 second to now 1.5 seconds. It no longer deals increased damage to targets with low health. Other than that, the cooldown on the ability is increasing early, but it is decreasing late. So you'll have more uses of your ultimate the higher rank you're able to get it. And that's the last change to Renna. The next mid laner that we're going to take a look at is the Fae. She's got no changes to her augments, so we're going to jump right into the base stats, which is mostly decreasing across the board. Same changes as the rest of the heroes we've talked about. HP and HP growth going down, mana and mana growth going down, physical power growth going down, and attack speed going down. But your attack speed growth is increasing. Her primary ability, Bramble Patch, has had damage decreased early, but increased later. And the cooldown of the ability is decreasing, but the resource cost is increasing. So to summarize, you've gotten more damage on this ability later with more frequent cast options, but it will cost you a little bit more mana to do so. Your secondary ability, Harvest Nettles, it's not same as many of these other changes. You're going to be, the enemy is going to know how many stacks you have applied to them. It will show them on their health bar. You can rejoice, though, that the cast animation of this ability can no longer be interrupted by crowd control. So that's very cool. And then your alternate ability, Untamed Growth, is now a lobbed projectile. The damage is going down across all ranks, but the cost of the ability is being decreased early on, and the cooldown is going down across all abilities. So you'll have more frequent uses. And just like the last ability, the cast animation can no longer be interrupted by crowd control. They've also adjusted the effects of the ability so that it's a little bit more visible. Now, her ultimate has had a great change. It has grown in size. So the ability is much, much larger, as you guys can see in the video here. Not only is it wider around, but it also is much, much taller. So the ability has more of a chance to catch people who are trying to fly over it. And it will pull targets out of the air, up to 950 units above it. So it's a bit more punishing to people who are not being careful around it, okay? It's also had its magical power scaling increase from 80 to 100%, and just like the rest of her abilities, your cast animation can no longer be interrupted by crowd control. So that's going to do it for the mid lane changes coming to Predecessor in patch 1.12. But thank you so much for watching. I want to know in the comments below, what role do you guys want to hear about next? I'm going to make a video for every single one of the roles so you guys can know all of the changes that are coming to the game and be ready to hit the ground running whenever this patch releases. So let me know in the comments below. We want to see offlane, do we see jungle, support, or carry? Who do we want to see next? Don't forget, if you haven't, please subscribe, like this video. It helps me out more than you know, and I'll see you out there. Thanks so much for watching.